he thinks everybody's doing it because the music can't possibly be good enough to like on its own.
To see someone sum up their entire body of work by skipping through little bits of thrill, it felt lazy and unearned for him to give that type of criticism.
It's not everybody. Like, that's the thing that really pissed me off.
I mean, calling the video about Japanese metal and then talking about the bands he talked about.
My feelings about Japanese metal are basically summarized by this meme. It's not so much how I feel about it, but it's what I think captures the reality. I think the appeal of Japanese metal is mostly in the Japanese part. In my opinion, most Japanese music in general is not great. I think it essentially falls into one or two categories. Stuff that is executed very well, very competent, not necessarily special or interesting in any way other than being Japanese. Number two is shit that's just super off the wall, crazy. It's only appealing to people because they find the idea of Japanese people being crazy to be super interesting. The worst example of this to me is BAND-MAID. These girls who dress like maids playing really bad. This sounds like a local band. This is not good. Any way you want to look at it. Nobody could possibly say that this was good. It's bad, but they dress as maids and they're Japanese. The 17 million people who watched this video, how many of them would like this band if they were Americans who didn't dress like this? That is my question. At least we're talking about Westerners. Let's be real. It's the yellow fever factor. Again, if you think these girls are attractive, whatever, that is up to you. But let's just be real. That is a huge part of the appeal.
Okay, I can see where he's coming from a certain parts, and other parts I was all like, I get it, he was live, we all say stupid shit, and we pander to our audience, and you go deeper into it, and blah, 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 blah. But then he kept talking, and and I was like, by the end of it, I was just like pissed off. But the thing is, it's like, that's what I always said about this guy. Whenever he does well thought out content and has a moment to think about it, he kind of goes, so I was telling everyone, watch him put an apology video before anything. He's going to be like, you don't think he's done it in the past. If you look at the
comments he liked and he hearted, they were all the worst fucking comments and most like subtly racist shit that are in there. Those are the ones he liked.
It's not everybody. Like, that's the thing that really pissed me off. I know people are like, don't shed more light on it. I'm like, hey, I'm not against having conversation. And also, hey, maybe we might convince some other people otherwise that are fans of him. For me, I like debate and conversations, so I don't mind doing it. Of course, people are going to get more views of it and stuff like that. But honestly, for me, I just like the argument. I love to hear people's oppositions to things because I think it's fun. I'm twisted in the head like that.
You just like to hear yourself talk. That's why I made your own video.
That too? No, To
be honest.
He missed the whole point of listening to music in general. That's still his opinion, that's what it boiled down to. But like, he really made it seem like it was fact, and then it became more apparent as the video kept going. The video just kept getting worse. Like, he could have stopped. It just like, okay, I get it. That's
he did his usual, yeah.
And
I agree, man.
Worse.
Should we go around and get each other's takes on it before we just discuss it?
Yeah, so that was my take. We'll go to Ryan. That was it. That's all I'm going to say about it, but we're going to say Ryan. Go ahead.
Let's go, folks.
Novel time. Ryan's gonna read you all story right now.
So, Finn, okay, here's the thing. He starts out, this is gonna be unpopular. So right there, he fucking knows what he's doing. His mind is made up. He has no drive to like listen to anybody. So his mind's made up. Basically he says we like it just because it's Japanese. He puts up a meme thing. Japanese thing. Oh, I like it. This is what he says. It's not so much how I feel about it, but it's how I feel, basically. His didactic bullshit he fucking puts out every fucking video. I don't like this. It's not me. It's you, but maybe me because it's just bullshit. What he does every time. If he doesn't like something, he never says, I don't like it. He's like, well, it's not for me, but if you like what you like.
Yeah,
but then he backtracks on that, on this whole fucking thing. He backtracks on that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't fetishize things, but he promotes his video with a fucking Adam and Eve ad that you literally put his name in to get a discount to buy sex toys. Come on, dude.
Did he really? Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, it starts off with an Adam and Eve ad.
It was Adam and Eve.
Are you
put in
fucking
Finn
serious?
to get a discount.
I completely missed that.
Yeah.
He was just like, this is regular programming.
I didn't even pick Ryan. This is why you're on the podcast.
So it's he basically says people that like Japanese metal just like it because we like watching Japanese people do crazy things.
And
so, okay. No, that's basically what it comes down to. So I couldn't watch the whole video again. His rationalization of this throws every comment he had about a band I didn't know that I watched before into question. Like I've watched his videos and I appreciated his thoughts on things. Everything he talked about that I didn't know already, out the window because the way he talked about the generalization of Japanese metal. Okay. Bands I compare Japanese bands to. Here's my take because I've been American like my whole life.
really? No
and
way.
when I listen to these bands, I draw my own comparisons. These are not my own. This is just what I know. Okay. Point. Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. Winery Dogs, Alice in Chains, Iron Maiden, Grunge in general, and Metallica, Incubus, Helmet. These are bands that are pretty fucking, there's not a lot of bands like them. So when I draw comparisons to them, that's saying that this is something that I don't find in a lot of other places. So BAND-MAID, I've made comparisons to Faith No More, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Metallica. What else? Silkoninu, Mr. Bungle, Butt Focused, and Bratz, General Grunge, Crow's Soundtrack, Maximum Hormone, Faith No More, Mr. Bungle. Pop punk, Sepultura, they're all over the fucking place. So these are things that you don't just find here.
No, yeah, it's very
so
rare.
the fact that they come from Japan I don't like them because they're Japanese. I've been turned on to them because they're Japanese, because of the content of my videos. They bring something else that you don't get anywhere else. Can there be a Finnish band like this? Yeah. Ever heard it yet? No. How many bands can you do that with,
Mm-hmm.
I like weird bands. 12-Foot Ninja.
Yeah.
I compare them to the same band. It's not because they're Australian and I want to fuck them. It's just because they're a great fucking band.
Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
it's
they're not
okay,
bad
Ryan.
looking guys. Just look at the comments that Finn liked and hearted. Any of the ones he liked and hearted were stuff that completely agreed with him, or is the most like subtly or not so subtly racist shit in his comments. All right. That's the ones he liked, and that's the ones he hearted or responded to. Occasionally he'd respond to somebody who disagreed with him, but it's always a shit response.
Yeah, he responded to me. I did not.
This is purely made to stroke his core bass phrasing, and he knew exactly what it was going to do, and here we are.
He sexualized his fans. What?
Well, the thumbnail says it all, dude. It's stupid look in his face, stereotypical fucking highlights on the cheeks from anime stuff. He was closed off from the beginning. So fuck this guy. I mean, calling the video about Japanese metal and then talking about the bands he talked about. It was clear he had no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Then he said BAND-MAID is the worst offender and played Thrill and listened to it for about 3.5 seconds. Like, see, this is just horrible. So right then,
yeah,
oh my God.
That pissed me off too.
For one, that's not a bad fucking song. And two, he obviously had his mind made up. All right, I'm done. Let's move on.
Wave, go ahead.
Like you said, Alan, he had the potential to make a good point about Japanese music. And I think there's a little bit of truth to what he was saying. But when you want to make a point, you have to go into it with solid logic. And he starts with the assumption that there are only two categories of Japanese metal. One, well-executed and competent music, but really nothing special apart from being Japanese. And then two, completely crazy and off the wall. And people like it because they find the idea of Japanese people being crazy to be super interesting. So he paints all Japanese metal with this broad brush, boxing them all into two categories, and assuming the reason people like Japanese metal is because it's weird and that people have like a fetish for Japanese music and culture. And I agree, in certain cases, one person might only like the music because of that reason, but it's such a small minority. It's certainly not all cases. I think when a culture is different from yours, there is this natural sense of mystery to it because it's something that you don't see every day. So it creates this desire to learn about it. and it has a different draw than domestic stuff would have. He calls it exotifying, tries to make it into some weird kind of racist thing. But if appreciating a band's music can be considered a microaggression, then that's just really sad. And
where do we draw that line?
Yeah, exactly. Especially coming from a guy who just said all Japanese metal fits into only 2 categories and that neither is special. So he just discredits all these bands, all the work that they've put into their bodies of work, because we all know how much work it takes. You have to learn your instrument. You have to learn music theory. You write, you record, you grind it out on the road. Those all take so much time. You build relationships with your fans. And Japanese bands, in my opinion, do really well with that. Better than a lot of American bands.
They care about their fans so much.
There's some Japanese people that are fascinated with American culture because it's because you want to learn about cultures that are different than yours. Exactly. It's a natural, mysterious draw. So for me, someone who's been experiencing the most recent BAND-MAID stuff, that's just these amazing layered compositions, especially listening to that Unseen World instrumental, just insane compositions. To see someone sum up their entire body of work by skipping through little bits of thrill, which they posted 8 years ago, they didn't even write it. Yeah, it just felt lazy and unearned for him to give that type of criticism. And I absolutely support criticism of music that, you know, has solid reasoning to back it up, because like that last Finn video we watched, he mentioned that's what helps a band grow. And I thought that video was really good. But in this video, which he labeled as the truth about Japanese music, when it's 100% his opinion, it just looked at this very narrow field of evidence to make his point that he had decided on from the beginning, like Ryan mentioned. And so this one was just a complete mess of a video for me. It had no solid logic behind it.
How many people have you read where they're like, I dismissed it at first because it's Japanese, I didn't understand it, then I listened to it? Yeah. Most fucking people. You're not listening to it because you put it off because it's Japanese to begin with.
Yeah, I think things
you listen
being
to
in
it and you're like, fuck, this is amazing.
Well, if something's in a different language, it's harder.
Well, yeah, not because it's Japanese, because it's not your language. That's
any foreign dialogue. Like, I mean, it's harder than whatever is most, relatable to you. So it's an extra step.
That annoyed me when he said Japanese don't like Western things. How can someone say that with a straight face? That's a really good point. Right. I mean, obviously they do, but go ahead, champ.
I feel like cultures are just interested in other cultures, just like Wave was saying. But all right, so it's a good thing that we're recording this a week after that drops, because I've had time to calm down and I am much less agitated than I was. I think I could be a little bit more reasonable about what I have to say. So right off the bat, let me just say the thesis of the video in itself was hypocritical, because he's saying that people only like Japanese music for a certain reason, while simultaneously saying that he doesn't like Japanese music for that same reason. So like, I don't really understand how he could possibly not see, the hypocrisy in that statement in general. One, he used the word derivative. Okay. Now people use that word. It happens. Things can be derivative. But when it comes to music, pretty much everything that's ever existed is derivative, right? So like, he was going through these bands and he was going, okay, Baby Metal, BAND-MAID, blah, 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 all these bands, Maximum the Hormone, he listened to and was like, yeah, this reminds me of blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I've heard this shit before, but it's not good. And I'm going,
yeah, dude, holy fuck.
Where have you heard Maximum the Hormone in any other, it just doesn't exist in the world. Yeah. And if it does, you should definitely be showing it to people, because you could get paid as a promoter in that case. Okay?
Exactly.
Where's your examples?
Yeah. So that word right off the bat, it just always drives me crazy, because I feel like, come on, man, like that's an argument. That's just like everything comes from. This is like we were talking last week about samples in our extended podcast and like what they mean, like if they're a form of music, and yes, they are, because we're utilizing, music and adjusting it and changing it as time goes on to create new things. Right. So like everything is derivative. The biggest problem that I had with his whole video was his use of the word bad, which he was stating objectively in every single situation. He would go, this is not for me, but you can't argue that it's bad. And I would go, that is antithetical to what you're saying, bro. Like, you're literally saying It's not for me, as in other people can like it. And then you're saying, but you can't tell me that I'm wrong about this because it's bad. I'm objectively stating this. This is not good music. You have no legs to stand on. But hey, that's just my opinion. You know what? Fuck off, man. Like, so then I left a comment on there that basically said that. And he goes, his response is, that's just my opinion. And I was
your opinion, man.
Yeah, I was ready to throw, myself through the computer and land in his room and start throwing punches, because like
it is glass fucking jaw.
Yeah, I'm listening to that and I'm going, okay, so you know what? I'm good. I'm good. But that is the point. The whole thing at the end of the day is that he's calling these things, and I'm not even going into this part where it's like, maybe mildly, subtly racist from time to time, right?
Champ, what about his credentials?
Let me just give you my credentials. I've been to Japan. I've watched anime since like 1989. I used to be able to like read katakana and hiragana. I can't anymore. I just learned it so that I could play video games. My weeb credentials are that I bought Bubblegum Crisis fan subs on VHS in fucking 1990. I don't believe that being Japanese is inherently interesting. How many of their fans would listen to the same band if they sang in English and they didn't look like this? Zero.
When you look at music, first of all, it's all subjective no matter what. But if you're going to claim that you're being subjective in something, you can't hide behind the idea that your opinion means that nobody can criticize it or judge it or disagree with it. Just because it's your opinion doesn't, one, make it a fact, and two, doesn't mean that people can't dispute it. And that's what really drove me crazy about it. When I left the comment on his page, I was hoping that he would have some sort of like, some semblance of a reasonable response to me. This is why I feel the way that I feel, versus what he said, which is just, this is my opinion, deal with it, which is like, dude, then go to hell.
This is what I think happened. I think a lot of fans were hitting him up saying, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out, because of what he already listens to. And I think he got to a point where like, he just had this like, I'm going to check it out. But like, now I'm like, because everybody's telling me, now I feel like I have to. And I think that's where a lot of that energy came from. And the only reason why I said that has a partial to deal with it, because you can still be a smart human and be like, hey, I understand everyone's bombarding me to check out these bands. Let me literally give it a good go at it, right? Let me give it a good go at it. Because
that's what we do, man.
I've been in a situation where somebody's like, check this out, and I keep putting it off every time the comic comes. And, when you finally get to it, you're like, fine, I'll do it. But like, you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back, take a breath, and then check it out with an open mind.
But even when it's like that, right? Like even when you have a situation where he's going to say, like maybe he's just agitated, he's having a bad day, whatever.
I think he was agitated.
It happens to all of us, right? Let's say that's the reason. At the end of the day, you have to take a step back, like you said, and reevaluate it. But also, it's beyond that, because he was talking about the fetishization part, right? So like.
Yeah,
that wasn't
like
something that he just came up with on
right.
Well, yeah, exactly. That wasn't something he just came up with on the spot. Like he had thought about this. He was like looking up like definitions of words and shit like that. Like he went, he was on the dictionary. He was reading the dictionary to us, like
he bought a thesaurus.
Yeah, and like so I'm looking at this and I'm going, even if he's having the worst day ever, like this is just a bad fucking day. He wanted to tell everybody what he thought about. You cannot enjoy this music because it's not good enough to enjoy, so you must be fetishizing it. And that was the thesis of his whole video, and there's just no actual proof or evidence to back that up.
He said it over and over and over again.
Right, over and over again. And I will say that people do that. People do that.
I agree that they do, but bro, we get the point. Like, but that's not everybody.
I don't know about you guys personally, but like, I didn't even know, like, I had never watched an anime. I didn't know anything about Japanese culture or Japanese music until 2 years ago. Right. Same. It's not like I've been fetishizing Japanese culture for my whole life. And I'm like, oh, they're Asian. Thank God I could watch them. Like, I just, like it was literally just like, oh, this music's kind of cool. I'm going to listen to more of this. And now I have this fucking guy telling me that I'm just sexualizing them. Fuck off.
Well, bro, stop sexualizing them, dude.
Yeah,
I know you want to fuck
I'll
all
admit,
this too, you know? That's why I think
I've liked the idea, and I like Japanese culture and movies and the things they do and stuff. Not the things they do, but like how there's a whole history there that's a couple thousand years before my fucking history, man. It's a cool thing, and it's not because they're Japanese. It's just that it's a thing that's different than here. Yeah, it's just different. The way it happened. I like European stuff because it's old and there's history there that we don't have here. It's interesting. So what the fuck is wrong with that?
Well said.
It's just dumb, dude. Projection was something mentioned in the comments, and I meant to mention it, and that's a thing that it seems like he's doing. Like,
yeah, that's what I said.
You know, his credentials. I mentioned. He mentioned that he used to watch anime, and he even sent out mail to like get VHSs for anime. Fucking point. And that's what. So the fuck what, dude? So what? I listen to Sepultura. Does that mean I understand Brazil? No.
No,
I like the fucking music.
It sounds like what he's saying.
Anime.
Yeah, he's like, I used to fetishize Japanese people, so I know how it works, bro.
Yeah, so right fucking there, man.
He must know
used
something
to, and they all
guys.
Teresa sent in a super chat. She says, he said it is objectively bad, like he's the authority of what is objectively good or bad music, and people haven't been arguing about that as long as music existed.
Dude, I've heard some horrible fucking music that people absolutely love. Absolutely, there's another word for you.
Yeah,
absolutely love that I think is horrible. You can't have objectively bad. That's an oxymoron.
Yes, and if you say that, you need to have receipts. You need to have evidence and give examples of why it's objectively bad. You can't say it's objectively bad and then be done.
I mean, I've seen some art that's pretty fucking ridiculous, but.
Yeah, it depends on the person. It really depends on how the person evaluates the art. It depends on how much emotional meaning it has to them. It really depends on what it does for you. Like, I could listen to a song and it'll have a completely different meaning for me than it would for any of you guys. Just like you guys were talking about before you went on. You said you like one of the covers better and you like this version better. It struck a different chord for you guys when we were starting the extended part of the podcast. And, you know, that's true. Like, but it's fine, but Ryan's not going around saying, "Oh, you're fucking wrong," like for liking that. But I mean, who's for me saying? And the thing that pissed me off, like too, when I was watching the video, is like, he said, "Who's listening to this?" And I literally paused the video. I'm like, "Bro, there's 16 million fucking views."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, these 16 million people to watch this obviously don't know." Fuck off, dude.
16 million people are sexualizing them. We're like,
we're a horny ass world, my friends.
You know,
I mean, that's not untrue, but I don't think that's all it is. You know, I mean, listen, man, like I really like when he was listening to Thrill, and okay, so
like
don't take offense to this, Alan. Okay, ready? If you listen to a short clip of Maximum the Hormone, you might think this is too crazy. I'm not into it. If you don't listen to the whole song, because he listened to like 10 seconds.
I agree with that. No, right? I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So one, the problem is that he didn't listen to enough of it. But two, then he's going to stuff that's a little bit more basic, like BAND-MAID's Thrill, right? Where he's going, yeah, this is bad. I don't know how anybody could listen to this. And it's just the verse that he listened to. He was just listening to the verse of the song. And I'm going, dude, this is not the best song that I've ever heard. This is not even close to the best BAND-MAID song, but it's a competent song. It's not like it's trash. It doesn't sound bad to your ears. It just sounds like a rock song. You know what I mean?
Any of the subcore bullshit he thinks is amazing. Jesus Christ. Come on.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is horrible. It doesn't mean it is. Somebody loves it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Now, Thrill to me, they didn't write it. I didn't know that at the time. It's the first song. The first one was a live cut of Thrill. And I drew comparisons to Winery Dogs, Mike Portnoy, fucking Billy Sheehan, Richie Kotzen, three of the most talented musicians in their field you could ever fucking have. And I mean, credit to the writers of the song and to them performing it, you know, and Sabbath and grunge. I mean, it was a fucking crazy song anyway.
Yeah.
And so to listen to that and be like, yeah, it's not good. Fuck off, dude.
Mm-hmm. It's coming from the same guy who last time we watched his video where he made a really good point. He supports having different opinions and being able to be honest about them. But he also has, you know, it just doesn't line up with what he said in that video.
He's placating everybody. He tries to walk back everything he says with, well, it's not for me. It's just point.
I really think there's a sign of, you know, I relate to not the subtle racist parts, but the idea of the gatekeeping music from when I was like a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, I can relate to being that kind of person where I was like, this ain't good, bro. What are you listening to? This is shit. And I look at his video now, and he's what? I don't know how old he is. Probably our age, right? Like 30. This is late 30s, something like that. But I look at that and I go, this is just a sign of immaturity, because I grew out of that. I'm sure most of us had those feelings when we were younger and then grew out of them. And it seems like he's still stuck in it, which tells me that he's just never going to grow out of it, you know? I was saying, how do you have any credibility if that's the case?
I was saying on the
finally
stream,
stopped skateboarding.
This was the kid that like would make fun of me in school. That's what I was saying. Probably this was the kid that I'd be getting in a fucking fight with at school. Not saying that's gonna happen, but honestly,
no, you're rocking
really
your Manson shirt. You're wearing your Manson shirt to school, and he's like, "Dude, that's garbage music. What are you listening to?"
Yeah, he's the guy that called all of the kids posers all the time. You know,
yeah,
like,
you listen to stuff that plays off the dots. You're weird.
I don't know.
You're wearing a Pantera shirt, and he goes, "Oh yeah, well, name me 10 songs of theirs." Like, fuck off, homie. I know their music. I don't have to prove it to you,
dude. I don't know most of the names of the songs. I'll see BAND-MAID.
Yeah, exactly. We got another super chat here, by the way, from Matt Knowles. Thanks for the $10, Matt Knowles. He says, "Just go look at Wave's stream on Wednesday. There was a death metal band that I wasn't into. 3 songs later, we were listening to an old folk song that others didn't like. Music is subjective, plain and simple."
Yeah. Well said, Matt. And thanks for the shout out. And that's the thing. Like, people can get along even if they don't have the same music taste. You don't have to pander to one little audience that has really strong opinions. Build an audience that's open to different types of music and that's respectful.
You'll be happier.
I mean, yeah, because only people he's pandering to are people that don't respect other people's opinions. Yeah. Do you really want those people watching you?
I do question, though, how much pandering he's actually doing. If people were asking him to check this out and then he shits on it, that's not really something that you would do too much if you were pandering to your audience. You know, hey, I want you to listen to this. Oh, it sucks. You know, like, so I'm not sure how much he was.
The chat egged him on. That's what I think. Mm-hmm. When he said his first opinion, he, like, if you watched, he says it one time and I'm like, okay, that's his opinion, whatever. I thought he was going to stop. That's what I really thought. And then, but I saw the chat just fueling it. And I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. Now they see what the chat's saying. That might be feeling. Because you hear him go, right? Yeah. And then he reiterates the same damn thing like we do sometimes on this podcast. And he goes back in. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, like, I think the chat really egged it on and agreed with him, which is fine that the chat agreed with him. But I think that really fueled it.
It definitely could have been a major factor going forward to get him to do that. It's just I can't get on board.
No excuses, of course. I'm just saying, like, from my perspective.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you
totally
can
understand.
See it in the chat, dude. It was pretty like brutal. Like, people were egging him on.
Teresa wants to admit that she just fetishizes us for exotic American. I understand because I went on.
I don't blame her.
I have to admit something here, guys. I was watching some Korean TV shows and movies, and until I watched Finn's video, I didn't realize I was only doing it because I really thought the guy in the lead was really hot.
Yeah, I believe it.
It was an awakening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody in every other show, it was just the people and what they look like as opposed to the content of the TV show. It's weird. I was all wrong.
Reeval your whole life, man.
Thank you,
Fuck
Finn,
that guy. Maybe it's just good and I like it.
I don't know.
Thank you, Finn, for helping us see the truth.
I'm just thinking about the next time I watch a video with like a hot Japanese girl in it, and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, she's hot," and he's gonna like come and show up on the side of the wall.
Yo,
I knew it. I gotcha.
That's true though. That's what really sucks is since we watched this video, and now every time we're like, "Oh man, I really like this." Fucking Finn's gonna be like taking up headspace. God damn it! God damn it! Get out of here!
Like Mortal Kombat will pop in from the side.
A new challenger appears.
Somebody fucking gift that because I'm going to use it.
I feel like
what's he need to say? What's he need to say? Fetishism.
Fetishism. You gotta get a little jingle for it. The Finn McKenty fetishism jingle. Every time we fetishize a culture accidentally.
I'll put it in the soundboard. I'll put it in the soundboard.
Exactly.
We need to have his little
fetishism.
with the freaking cheek sparkles.
Oh my god, yes. Hey, somebody makes
screenshot that
that
thumbnail.
If somebody makes that, I'll put it in. Have it as a trigger. That'd be hilarious.
You draw characters, stupid face.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Well, just
Topic. Good topic.
just
I think I didn't want to talk about this.
yeah, no, this is I could talk about this for hours, but just to kind of I want to bow tie my thoughts on this real quick. I believe that a lot of people, and probably with Japan more than most other cultures, there is a sexualization of the culture in general.
Yeah,
it's
that's what we're saying.
just
Yeah.
it's just the concept that he thinks everybody's doing it because the music can't possibly be good enough to like on its own.
There
That's
you go,
the part
man.
that just blows me away, and I will never. I laugh about it at this point because it's such a ridiculous concept. You know,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good point, man. Very good point.
it's so funny how much I liked
My
him
bad.
last week, and
I know.
Right, dude.
I know.
Don't like him.
I watched his videos.
I did too.
Wow.
They're well thought out. I didn't agree with a lot of them, but you know, it doesn't matter.
But
Yeah,
you
but that's
guys-
just your opinion, man. It's not that
He
I.
dropped the truth on us.
Angron, the Red Angel, sends in a super chat. Keep in mind, this is the guy that said baby metal fans must be into little girls, and he got slaughtered by BM fans in the comments.
Wait, he said they like
Yikes.
little girls? What the fuck?
Apparently, he's saying that he said that you wouldn't like baby metal unless you liked.
He
So he's
did
saying the
say
only
he was like
reason-
he did say I think they're like in their 20s now, so I guess that's okay. But yeah, it was alluded to,
Again,
and it's
he's
like
saying the only reason you could
Motherfucker.
like music is because you think they're hot.
Which means that he thinks that they're hot, and he's trying not to
Dave.
to sexualize them
it's
himself.
really weird because
So
I
he's
really
putting
like
it on other
Pantera.
people.
So,
I didn't know,
and
Ryan.
Corn.
Yeah, but Pantera is not from. But Pantera is not Japanese.
Oh, they're not Japanese, so it's okay. I
So
can
you
just like
could
the music then.
because it's
Yeah.
not bad
Okay.
music.
I-
Right?
I really
So-
like that guy that sang "Somewhere
Thanks.
Over the Rainbow" with the ukulele. Have you
What about it?
Israel? I can't remember his last name.
Big Hawaiian dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was absolutely beautiful. But I only like that song because Lot 11. No, it's a beautiful fucking song, man. It was performed beautifully.
For more Gaijin goodies like you just saw, be sure to subscribe to the Gaijin Guys podcast and turn on all notifications to be part of the live stream every Sunday. You can also find us wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, etc. You can find even more exclusive content and reactions on our Patreon, patreon.com/Gaijin Guys. I'll see you there. Adios.